All right, guys, let's learn some more about the science of flight.
Welcome to this presentation on the forces of flight. Let's learn about how forces are involved in flight. As you recall, a force is a push or pull on an object. How do forces move an aircraft through the air? Usually, there are 4 forces acting on an aircraft. What are the 4 forces of flight? The 4 forces of flight are lift, weight, thrust, and drag. As you learn about forces, take notes in your launch log. Stop now and draw an airplane with the forces labeled. When you're ready, continue with the presentation.
Follow those directions. Write it down in your launch log, please. Then press play again.
The amount of each force changes how the object moves through the air. These forces make an object move up and down and faster or slower. Let's learn more about each of the 4 forces. What is weight? Everything on Earth has weight. This force comes from gravity pulling down on objects. The weight of an object needs to be balanced by an upward push. A kite needs a lot less upward push than a jumbo jet does. What is lift? Lift is the push that lets something move up. It's the force that is the opposite of weight. Lift for an airplane comes from its wings. What is drag? Drag is a force that tries to slow something down. Drag makes it difficult for an object to move. The more air that hits a surface, the more drag it makes. As an object moves through the air, it pushes aside air molecules and creates drag. Engineers design racing cars to move through the air as easily as possible. With less drag, the racing cars move faster around the track. What is thrust? Thrust is the push that moves something forward. For an aircraft to accelerate forward, it must have more thrust than drag. For an aircraft to move forward at a constant speed, it must have as much thrust as drag. A small aircraft might get its thrust from a propeller. A large aircraft might get its thrust from jet engines. Now it's time to add notes to your launch log about the 4 forces of flight. Use this image to help you. When you finish your notes, continue with the presentation.
On the same page where you drew a picture of an airplane and put down lift, weight, thrust, and drag, you need to make sure that you also write down the definitions of each of them. When you're done, you can move forward.
Another important concept of flight is balanced and unbalanced forces. For an aircraft to take off, forces must be unbalanced. Lift is greater than weight, and thrust is greater than drag. For an aircraft to cruise, forces must be balanced. Lift is equal to weight, and thrust is equal to drag.
This is important to understand. When an aircraft is taking off, it has to have more lift and more thrust to get it off the ground. But once it's at a cruising altitude, you want the lift and weight to be equal and the thrust and drag to be equal. That way it remains in the air where it is, a balanced force.
Are forces unbalanced or balanced when an aircraft is landing?
What do you think?
Unbalanced. Lift is less than weight, and thrust is less than drag.
We're bringing it back down here, right? Weight brings it down and drag slows it down. 2 important things that need to happen before you land. Continue on below.